Okay, greetings. What's up, y'all? Live. I'm here on on Main Street, which has temporarily become my office for a minute, right? So just here chilling with some friends. This has been an environment. Oh man. Okay, this is an environment that I've been in working for 20 years, and I have not been working here for like the last 3 or 4 years. So, you know the work I'm doing right now, trying to make a better community, trying to make the world a better place, trying to make St. Thomas a better place, the Virgin Islands a better place. So sometimes I ask people for some help because I run low on funds and stuff like that. And I need a little breakfast, or I might need something. So, you know, if you ask, people are willing to help. So I contacted 2 people that I used to work for, just walked into their stores, and I was like, yo, I need some cash. And it was like, all right. I was like, I need some breakfast. So with that being said, this particular message here is being sponsored by Ajanta Jewelers, whom I worked for a number of years, a guy named Victor Sani, but he wasn't present right now. So a guy named Mark and another guy inside of there, they hooked me up with a little bit of cash. And then I went to Charming, a lady named Jenny, Charming Jewelers downtown in Drake's Passage, both in Drake's Passage. If you're suggesting doing any jewelry shopping or thinking about it, I suggest you go check them out and give them some support, because they support you, you know, by supporting me. Anyway, so this particular message is sponsored by them. And what am I here to talk about today? Today is a continuation on what I've been following lately, dealing with the 33rd legislature and their sponsoring of the bill called 33-011, 33rd legislature of the Virgin Islands. So that's for those of you who don't understand, or who don't know what time it is. That's also known as the Virgin Islands. That's also known as the new Virgin Islands anti-loitering law. What's up, Amir? I'm right here on Main Street right now. I'm right here on Main Street right now, and I'm doing a live broadcast, and I'm talking about the new, okay bro, VI anti-loitering bill. And just to sum it up really quickly, since you're there, I don't know how long you might watch, but it's got a lot of problems with it, particularly being a bill of attainder. A bill of attainder is where a government imposes a punishment upon a person or a group without due process, without a trial, and that's basically, I mean, I guess they'll be offering you a trial, so that's kind of, kind of picky right there, but it's still, anti-loitering laws are basically bills of attainder. It's a way for rulers to be able to depose of their enemies or competition simply by saying that you did something and punishing you for it and creating change. In this case, they'll be creating change in the Virgin Islands by permanently changing the culture of the Virgin Islands, saying that nobody could lime outside anymore on any turf. And so there's a big implication with that. Also, there are constitutional concerns, such as the right to peacefully assemble and to petition. Right now, what I'm doing is a First Amendment right, but part of the First Amendment is to be able to petition the government with the redress of grievances. And that's what I'm doing right now publicly on Main Street. So what's up, Afia? I hope I didn't mess your name up, but it's always, I noticed you've been joining my live streams lately. I appreciate you coming on. But anyway, so it's a continuation of that, and I gave you an update yesterday, I believe it was, on what I had done in the past couple days, but now I want to give you an update as to the actual written law, which I have on my computer right here. So like I said, I temporarily set Main Street up as my office, right? in the middle of things. So what I'm going to attempt to do now is scroll down. Let me see. Scroll down and read the bill and let you know what it consists of, and then we're going to discuss it a little bit. March 1st, 2019. So apparently, according to the press releases, Governor Bryan says that after the Flotopia shooting in St. Croix, where 6 people were shot, the next day he went on record as saying that he supports the bill. And then it went to, committee, and then committee of the whole voted upon, and then it was passed through the legislature. So now, here's the actual thing. It's an act amending Title 14, Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 60, Section 1191, relating to strengthening the loitering law and increasing the penalty for loitering. So they say they want to increase the penalty for loitering because too many people are getting shot and there's too much gun violence, right? So that's supposed to be their reason for wanting to do that. So we're going to see if that makes sense or not. So it's proposed, it's sponsored by Senator Novell E. Francis Jr., right? And it says, be it enacted by the legislature of the Virgin Islands. Section 1. It says Section 1. Title 14, VI Code, Chapter 60, amended by striking the existing Section 1191 and inserting a new Section 1191 in its stead. 1191, subsection 1191, loitering defined, punishment. A person commits the crime of loitering when the person, 1, lingers, remains, or prowls. So we got to get that definition, prowls, in a public place for the purpose of gambling with cards, dice, or other gambling paraphernalia. 2, lingers, remains, or prowls in or about school grounds or college or university buildings or grounds, remains in or enters a school bus as defined in 20 VI Code, subsection 377A. Not having any reason or relationship involving custody or responsibility for a student or any other legitimate reason for being there, and not having written permission from anyone authorized to grant permission. So you could simply be on a college campus, not know anybody that's there, not having custody of anybody that's there. So you'd be considered loitering, and you'd be liable to the penalty of loitering for up to 1 year if accused, and $5,000 according to this bill. So the next section is 3. Lingers or remain in a public place for engaging or soliciting another to engage in prostitution. Okay. Number 4. Lingers or remains in a public place for the purpose of unlawfully using or possessing a controlled substance. So I guess you would just add that on to any controlled substance charge, because if you have the controlled substance, you definitely get charged for that, but the loitering charge would be in connection to buying, distributing, or consuming. So you get that extra charge too. You're not charged separately. Well, you're charged separately for that, but it's in conjunction. So it's like a redundancy almost. And 6, lingers or remains in or about any public building or facility, including a federal or local government building, place of business or worship, transport facility, hotel, or guest house without apparent legitimate purpose or business therein, and in doing so obstructs or interferes with the legitimate business of another person, or intentionally annoys or harasses such other person. Number 12, B. Among the factors to be considered in determining if a person is loitering are that if a person takes flight upon the appearance of law enforcement officer. So listen to this. It says among the factors to be considered in determining. So I'm guessing that this is their probable cause, that they're probably. So if I'm here and I see an officer come towards me, if I take flight upon the appearance of the law enforcement officer, then I guess I must be loitering. It's one of the things that they'll consider, right? Okay, 1. 2, refuses to identify himself. That's number 2. And 3, manifestly endeavors to disguise or conceal himself or any object. So let's deal with the first 3. 1, I could just be sitting here, and if I see a law enforcement officer and I take flight upon watching the law enforcement officer, that's one of the things that one of the factors that they'll use to determine if I'm loitering or not. 2, if I refuse to identify myself. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but you don't have to identify yourself to anyone. It is your right to remain silent if you wish, if a law enforcer speaks to you. Because the very act of you engaging in conversation with that individual in uniform that identifies himself or herself as such is a form of, you're actually contracting with that individual. And the law enforcer has the right to attempt to contract with you, and you have the right to shut that individual down. Besides, you can plead the fifth if you want to, and you'd be covered. You're constitutionally covered should you decide you do not want to answer the questions of that law. So that's the first violation of the Constitution right there, and also the Organic Act of 1954, Section 3, where it clearly states that what am I talking about? That well, it violates due process. I don't want to say the wrong thing, and I think I lost my train of thought, and I don't want to continue in the wrong way. But anyway, you have the right to. Okay, so if you manifestly endeavor to disguise or conceal yourself or any object, are you kidding me? So if I manifestly attempt to disguise or conceal myself or any object, so if I take something and I put it in my pocket, I could be charged for loitering and conceal any object from who or whom. So who wrote this law? Are they really kidding me? I know this isn't the actual law that they call themselves drafting. And C, this is the next part right here. Unless the suspect has fled to or another circumstance makes it impracticable prior to an arrest for loitering, a law enforcer shall give the suspect the opportunity to identify himself and explain his presence and conduct. Well, yeah, that's all fine and dandy and what have you, the officer, and it's more in line with due process. However, if an officer chooses to question me about my purpose in a particular place, and my response is that it's none of your business, right? Which if I choose to elect that to not answer that officer in the way that he wants to be answered, am I wrong? Lawfully, no, I am not wrong. So that there is a violation right there. They're enacting stuff that shouldn't be enacting. So that doesn't make sense right there, right? So it is, and then it says it is a defense to prosecution for loitering as defined by subsection A if 1, the law enforcer fails to give the defendant an opportunity to identify himself and explain his presence or conduct. So if he gives you the opportunity and you tell him it's none of his business and that you don't want to contract with him and you walk away, any further action on the part of that officer would be considered harassment. He does not have the right to force you unless he has probable cause of some type of crime that has been committed. He, at that point, is still in the investigative process, and I would encourage him to do his job. You feeling me? I'm not going to do your job for you, and I don't have to answer your question. And 2, and the other reason that's a defense is if it appears at trial. This is after the fact that the explanation offered to the law enforcement officer by the by the defendant is true and believed at the time would have dispelled any concern or alarm. So I would have to go to trial to defend myself in order to expose at trial that, hey, listen, I had a good excuse. So the officer at that time would have powers, okay, legitimate powers according to this law to do, and we'll find out afterwards. So you see what I'm talking about right there? So let me see what's next on this. So it says loitering is a misdemeanor subject to arrest and is punishable, and get this, by a fine of not more than $5,000 or imprisonment of not more than 1 year or both. Are you kidding me? 1 year in prison for loitering, right? 1 year in prison for loitering, and $5,000. Like, we, in this climate of financial difficulty that we're experiencing right now, these people have the nerve to actually implement a $5,000 fine or a law that could result in someone receiving a $5,000 fine for what? You know, for loitering or going to jail for 1 year. Are they serious? Now, my thing is, okay, let me give you the bill summary now. It says this bill amends Title 14, 1191 by strengthening the loitering law and increasing the penalty for loitering. So, and I guess it says, this is confusing because it says BR 190154, January 29th, 2019. So that's an even earlier date. That is an even earlier date than March 1st, when the bill has said to be drafted. And I'm getting my information from Senator Blyden's office, his secretary, who sent me the PDF yesterday. So I'm confused because the press release by the VI Consortium, the St. Thomas Source, and some of the other online presences that report that Senator Bryan responded to this bill 1 day after the Flotopia shootings, right? So if it's 1 day after that and he decided to set it into motion and went to committee, then committee of the whole, and then it was voted on and sent to Government House, where it sits in the governor's office today, waiting to be signed. And that's the purpose of me doing this little word sound right now. Why? Because I want the people of the Virgin Islands to call your governor right now. Call Government House. Get on your website. Get on their website. Let them know that the people of the Virgin Islands do not want this bill to be signed into law. And I'm telling you personally, Governor, or whoever, Governor, but yeah, sorry to disrespect your title like that. I'm telling you personally that if you do sign this bill, one, you'll go down in history, in VI history, as the first governor who will permanently try to change the face of VI culture by saying that we can't lime or no turfs or no stuff like that. You know, and you'll be locking people up and arresting them and giving them fines and punishments of up to 1 year in prison and a $5,000 fine for what? For loitering? So you'll be the first to be known to change the face of VI culture, where people won't be able to come outside and enjoy, you know, being on the street because we'll always have to fear being harassed by the police. I want to know, what is your real motivation behind this? Who's paying you? And who's paying those senators that are working with you? You know? Who are paying those senators that are working along with you to pass this bill so quickly? And why haven't you guys consulted us and found out our point of view, how we feel about it? So I just want to tell you guys that we didn't elect you for this, to be enacting draconian statutes that will affect us in the same way where people cannot sit down in public like I'm doing right now for fear of some type of prosecution. And I reject your excuse that because it's for gun violence. I think you guys have other things. I think that in mind. I think that the people that you're working in the interest of wants to pave the way for several things like the dispensary interest, you know, not having competition on the street, you know, for selling weed. And also, I think that because if you look at the Main Street right now, Main Street is being fixed up, you know, major project. And they're not doing it for us. They're not doing it for us. They're trying to set it up so that the promoters downtown will no longer be able to promote. So this is nothing really different than a resurfacing of the Barker bill that I shut them down on several years ago coming up. So they're not doing it for us. The Chamber of Commerce, Historic Society, all of those people who, India Association, goes all on and on. These are the large money interests, along with, you know, Royal Caribbean and certain cruise ship companies and whatever. They probably want to, you see all these stores that are closed down the street? You know what they probably want to do? They probably want to put a Tiffany's there, or Lloyd's of London, or, you know, what have you. So they, you know, they want to close down all the little Indians here and put a Tiffany's there, or Lloyd's of London, and they want a whole bunch of high-end stores. They want this to be a real playground for the wealthy. They're trying to make, you see how they're not fixing the schools, the hospitals, you know, healthcare is not being taken care of, the roads are not being taken care of. Those are not their priorities. Things are getting harder for us here in the VI, and the local population is moving out, and we're getting brand new faces moving in all the time who come here with resources that are able to take care of themselves. And I'm not hating on them one bit. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing like a few fresh new faces around the place. That's good new energy. But what I'm upset with is that our people cannot afford to live here anymore, and our quality of life is declining. And anybody who lives here can afford to come and live here and visit better than us, you know. And they're trying to take care of us with some of these little draconian laws. And I'm standing at the gate, and I'm not going to let it happen. So I encourage everybody that's able to see this video right now, share it with your friends, and call up Government House right now, because the governor hasn't signed it yet into law, but he's planning this week to call him up and let him know that by this move, he will ensure that he becomes a one-term governor. We're already mad at him for things like WAPA and for other things, you know. So, but by this movement right here, he will definitely ensure it. And I will personally sue the Virgin Islands and every senator that supported it, and I can prosecute it myself. I'm self-taught at law. Try me if you don't believe me. And I can get the support, I'm sure, of several local attorneys to help me and guide me in this. We'll make a big class action suit on behalf of the people, good morning, on the island who this affects once you pass it into law. And I'll just make it an issue so that you'll have multiple civil rights abuse cases on your hands that you will have to defend yourselves against in federal court. You feeling me? So go ahead, make your move if you dare, because I will definitely be a perpetual thorn in your side. And thank you for the love, Julie, and how everybody else could help. Share this message on every platform that you could. I'm out. This has been another Fear None Everlasting presentation. It's sponsored by Ajanta Jewelers and Charming Jewelers, who gave me money to buy my lunch and is helping me, among other people. There's another guy named Carlos on Main Street that has given me some money, you know, that's helping me to do the work that I'm doing. If you can help me in any way, whenever you're able to, by handing me $1 or 50 cents, $5, $10 to help me accomplish my goals, which is to help bring us together and to make our government accountable please do so. It would be greatly appreciated, and it would be used wisely. Thank you very much for your indulgence. Leroy Haywood, Took Ritter, Julie Dempsey, Annie Fiak, Afia, Amar Wahid. God bless you all. God bless everybody that sees this message. Be good to each other. One love. I love you all. One. This has been another Fear None Everlasting presentation. It's a wrap, and I'm out.